The myth of laziness. Why human potential isn't about willpower. What if I told you that one of society's most common assumptions about human behavior is completely mistaken? What if calling someone lazy is as unfounded as believing the earth is flat? In this deep dive, we explore why laziness isn't a real trait and what truly happens when we use this label. Part 1. The historical myth of laziness. The idea of laziness has a fascinating past. During the Industrial Revolution, factory owners expected workers to be as efficient and tireless as machines. The philosopher Bertrand Russell criticized this mindset in his 1932 essay, In Praise of Idleness, arguing that the work ethic is the ethic of slaves, and the modern world does not need slavery. Even Benjamin Franklin, renowned for his early-to-bed, early-to-rise advice, often spent his mornings taking what he called an air bath, simply sitting naked by open windows. Throughout history, the notion of laziness has been used to criticize those who do not fit the dominant economic model. Indigenous peoples living sustainable, non-capitalist lives, women whose domestic work was undervalued, and neurodivergent individuals whose work patterns differ from standard expectations. Part 2. The Science of Motivation. Let's consider what science tells us about motivation. In 2017, Dr. Devin Price published Laziness Does Not Exist, demonstrating that so-called lazy behavior is not due to a lack of effort, but rather to obstacles such as food insecurity, learning difficulties, or caring responsibilities. Neuroscientist Andrew Huberman's research on motivation shows that our brain's dopamine system requires specific conditions to function properly. People who appear unmotivated often suffer from dopamine dysregulation caused by stress, trauma, or neurological differences, not because they choose to be lazy. For example, Albert Einstein was once expelled from school and labeled lazy by his teachers. However, he would later focus intensely on physics problems that fascinated him. This is not laziness. It is simply a different way of engaging with the world. Part 3. The Procrastination Puzzle. What about procrastination? Isn't that just another form of laziness? Research by Dr. Tim Peichel at Carleton University suggests otherwise. Procrastination is less about poor time management and more about difficulties with emotional regulation. Studies have shown that people tend to delay tasks that trigger anxiety or fear of failure, seem unclear on where to start, offer no immediate rewards, or lack personal meaning. Consider Leonardo da Vinci, famous for leaving projects unfinished. His delay in completing the Mona Lisa was driven by perfectionism and fear of not meeting his own high standards, not laziness. In fact, a 2015 brain imaging study found that when we see a task as overwhelming, our fear center, the amygdala, is activated while our planning center, the prefrontal cortex, shuts down, hindering our ability to act. Part 4. Executive function, the real culprit. Often, when someone struggles to get started or stay organized, we assume they lack motivation. However, increasing evidence points to challenges with executive function, the brain's CEO, which manages planning, working memory, task initiation, time perception, and self-monitoring. Dr. Russell Barkley, a leading neuropsychologist, has shown that individuals with executive function differences often work much harder than others, yet produce fewer visible results. Charles Darwin, for instance, wrote about his constant struggle with what we would now recognize as executive function challenges, relying on strict routines and his wife's help to complete On the Origin of Species. Part 5. The Impact of Environment and Resources. Consider the famous marshmallow experiment, which tested children's ability to delay gratification. For years, it was thought that self-control predicted future success. However, a 2018 study at NYU revealed that children from unreliable environments were more likely to opt for immediate rewards, not due to impulsivity, but as an adaptive response to their surroundings. Similarly, research by economist Sendhil Mullainathan and psychologist Elder Shafir in their book Scarcity shows that poverty creates a significant cognitive load, comparable to losing 13 IQ points. When resources are scarce, the brain focuses on immediate needs. This explains why the story of the tech billionaire who started in a garage is not simply proof that anyone can succeed. He had the benefit of education, connections, and safety nets that allowed him to think long-term. Part 6. Mental Health and the Energy Crisis. One of the most tragic misunderstandings is the link between depression and the label of laziness. Dr. Andrew Solomon, who wrote about his own experience in The Noonday Demon, explains that even the simplest tasks can seem insurmountable when one is depressed. Similarly, writer William Styron likened depression to the Herculean effort of Sisyphus pushing his boulder up the mountain. Research from Oxford University has found that depression can impair energy production at a cellular level, reducing activity in brain areas responsible for motivation. Moreover, conditions such as chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and long COVID impose genuine energy limitations that no amount of willpower can overcome. Christine Miserandino's famous spoon theory illustrates how some people begin each day with fewer energy spoons to expend. Part 7. Cultural differences in productivity. What we call laziness is often deeply influenced by culture. Many European societies value the idea of working to live, whereas American culture tends to promote living to work. Concepts such as the Dutch niksen, the art of doing nothing on purpose, and the Italian dolce far niente, the sweetness of doing nothing, celebrate the importance of leisure for well-being. Anthropologist Marshall Salins noted that hunter-gatherer societies, often unfairly criticized as lazy by industrial standards, typically worked only 3-5 hours a day for subsistence, spending the rest of their time in leisure and community activities. Meanwhile, Japanese culture recognizes the dangers of overwork, with the term karoshi meaning death by overwork. And Finland's education system shows that more breaks and less homework can still produce top global results. Part 8. A better framework. If laziness isn't real, how should we understand human motivation? Dr. Alfie Kohn, educational researcher and author of Punished by Rewards, suggests that we should replace judgment with curiosity. Instead of asking, "Why is this person lazy?" we might consider, what hidden obstacles might they be facing? What environmental factors are affecting their energy or focus? What support could help them succeed? The celebrated physicist Richard Feynman is a case in point. After winning the Nobel Prize, he appeared to procrastinate for years, causing concern among his colleagues. In reality, he was deeply exploring complex questions that later led to revolutionary ideas in quantum computing. His apparent inactivity was simply a phase of intense private thought. The myth of laziness harms individuals and stifles human potential by misidentifying the true obstacles to achievement. Imagine if Einstein's teachers had recognized his unique learning style instead of labeling him lazy. Imagine if we supported people with executive function challenges like Darwin instead of judging them. By understanding that environmental factors, available resources, and neurological differences influence behavior far more than willpower alone, we can build systems that truly support human creativity and productivity. So, the next time you catch yourself thinking someone is lazy, or even if you feel that way yourself, remember that there is always a deeper reason behind human behavior. Recognizing that reason is the first step toward unlocking genuine human potential.